Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio. Today, as the title suggests, we are talking about the Expendables 4 again, and more specifically, why the Expendables 4 already has the perfect gimmick to reinvent it. I swear I can read today. It's not like yesterday where I, flubbered and fucked up everything. The Expendables are returning after a long gap, and with Lee Christmas said to be the focus of the fourth movie, it has a built-in revival gimmick. The Expendables 4 is moving ahead with much of the original cast returning, and it has a built-in gimmick to revive the series after being dormant for so long. The Expendables first kicked off in 2010 with an action hero ensemble as a trip down memory lane to the 80s and 90s action movie Golden Age. And yes, people seem to forget that the Expendables was just a throwback movie it was just a throwback to the 80s and 90s action movies. So now you have all of these, older actors. You got Sly Stallone now bowing out after the fourth movie. We've already done a video on that. Lundgren, as I've said, is probably not too far behind him. So really, who do you have left? I mean, you're going to cast people from the 2000s. It's not going to be the same series once you remove the 80s and 90s action stars. The Expendables might as well just be retired. Despite growing in popularity with The Expendables 2, The Expendables 3 underperformed due to being the first PG-13 installment of the series, leaving The Expendables on ice until now. Yes, they basically took the Die Hard 4 approach with Live Free or Die Hard. We're gonna make it PG-13, and I remember at the time on the old message board, especially on IMDb back in the day when they actually had message boards. People were calling that movie Die Soft, if anyone really remembers that. Jason Statham's Lee Christmas will reportedly take the lead of The Expendables 4, while Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, and Randy Couture are also returning. In addition, 50 Cent, Megan Fox, and Tony Jaa are boarding the upcoming sequel. While fans of the series are surely eager to see it finally return, particularly with Thailand's legendary Tony Jaa joining up, The Expendables 4 has a few factors working against it that it will need to meet head on. Well, also, I know that this article is a little older, but also, how many people are truly excited to see Iko Uwais come on into to this movie, and particularly a potential Iko Uwais Tony Jaa matchup in this movie? I know they had a slight matchup in the movie Triple Threat, but it was very, very small from what I remember. Okay, but here we go. Has a few factors working against it. It will need to be head on. Okay, for starters, there's the fact that it'll be coming off the disappointing performance of The Expendables 3, which marked a commercial low point for the series and turned the most devoted segments of its audience off with its PG-13 rating, while failing to pull in younger viewers. That being said, The Expendables 3 was not a box office bomb, okay? Even though, yes, it was a commercial low point, The Expendables 3 still made money. It just didn't make as much money as the first two movies. And I would argue that, that the Expendables 4 really has a mountain to climb here, but let's continue on before I tangent. Stallone himself has called the rating a horrible miscalculation, so it's doubtful The Expendables 4 will be rated anything but R. Because of the bottom falling out on The Expendables 3, by the time The Expendables 4 arrives, the series will have been quiet for at least 8 years by the time it's released. While the first two movies were big hits, the franchise never soared to Fast and Furious levels of box office success. It never fucking was. Like, I hate to break it to you, the Expendables movies were made specifically for people that like the action movies of the 80s and 90s. Okay, if you like the action movies of the 80s and 90s, you will love the first two Expendables movies. If you don't like those types of action movies, you're probably not going to be into the series. It's just that simple. While the John Wick franchise now represents a real rival as an action series, however, The Expendables 4 has a hook to help work around these issues with Lee Christmas, who by himself can make the next Expendables a Christmas movie. I get what they're doing, a quote-unquote Christmas movie. With The Expendables 4 set to shift the main spotlight from Stallone to Statham, the working title is reported to be A Christmas Story. Now that would actually be pretty funny if he had like a Santa, kick him down a slide. Holding on to that as a post-colon subtitle, with or without the 4, would help set the new Expendables up as something new for the series, with Statham's second lead now front and center. Moreover, the Expendables 4 can take this even further by not only releasing during the holiday season, but also by being a la Die Hard, an explicitly Christmas-themed action movie. Doing that would make the Expendables 4 more than just the 4th movie in the series or a comeback after nearly a decade-long absence. The Expendables 4, aside from possibly being a mantle passing to Statham, could be positioned with a seasonal theme similar to the nostalgic angle the series began with. Essentially, the trailers and marketing would move beyond the Expendables are back to the Expendables are home for the holidays. With Lee Christmas as the primary lead of the 4th film, it would bring multiple new elements to the table, to say nothing of the marketing puns Lee's name offers for that time of year. For the Expendables 4 to make a comeback for the series, some seasoning is needed. A Lee Christmas-led Expendables released in and set during the holiday season is sitting right there for it, and the cherry on top of it all, unlike the yearly debate over Die Hard's qualifications as a Christmas movie, the Expendables 4 would face no such Yuletide scrutiny. And here's the mountain that this movie is going to have to climb over, is the fact that the Expendables 3 was such a letdown. And not just because it was a PG-13 rated entry, it also was, they focused way too much on the younger cast members of the Expendables. You know, you had people like Ronda Rousey, who else was in it? I think it was Kellen Lutz, I remember him. You had Victor Ortiz, and the 4th one I cannot remember to save my life. But you watch that movie and it's like, who the hell are these people? Other than Ronda Rousey, which I could see them casting Ronda Rousey at the time. This was 2013, 2014. And so yeah, she was insanely popular in the world of MMA at that time. The Expendables 3 really was disappointing. Like, that's the hill that the Expendables 4 has to climb over, is unfortunately the Expendables 3. And while I like the idea that this movie is going to be led by Jason Statham, personally, I would love to see Jason Statham freed up to do a 3rd Mechanic movie. Because we haven't had a Mechanic movie since 2016. And I thought I was going to hate the first Mechanic movie because I am a fan of Charles Bronson, and that is like, and the Mechanic is one of those classics that everybody that all Charles Bronson fans hold in high regard. And it's like, oh my god, they're doing a remake of the Mechanic. I can't believe that they're doing this. They're gonna totally fuck this up. And it turned out to actually be a decent movie. And surprisingly, Mechanic Resurrection wasn't that bad. So I do agree with this article that a Lee Christmas-led Expendables movie could be good as kind of the apology for the Expendables 3. But after this, I think the series just needs to retire. Like I said, now you're casting people like Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Megan Fox, Tony Jaa, these people that came up in the 2000s. You know, The Expendables is meant to be a throwback to the action movies of the 1980s. Now you're casting people from the 2000s. You're really going to lose that magic. And you know, my biggest fear is if they do an Expendables 5, it's going to be one of those movies of it should have never come out of utero. And guys, that's pretty much all I've got for you right now. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me long enough, you know I am terrible at ending these videos, so I will just see you guys next time.